wetlands migrate, they get bigger, they get smaller. As time goes on, people bring in new concerns or maps to us, we'll adjust those because wetlands do migrate, they do change. I think the other thing to consider with the exemptions with agriculture, and again, I think it's spoken to by the statute, is that in federal law, is that agriculture, this ordinance is driven towards the imperviousness of improvements on land. Agriculture is an impervious activity. Water, when it rains, it soaks into the soil. That's how farms survive. Now, there's times when it doesn't soak into the soil. But by and large, it soaks in the soil. Farms are also a repository for urban runoff. If you look at many of the farms in this area, that in fact is the case, where the farming offers the point of least resistance for storage of stormwater. Drive around Pleasant Prairie, and after any good rainstorm, you'll see many farm fields, and I don't think it's Pleasant Prairie, or the town of Summers, town of Crystal, farm field, repository of a lot of rainwater, because that's where it all ends up, and those farm fields store that rainwater. The state rules are also driven at, and I think this is what they're really trying to, when you read the statutes, they're trying to protect the waterways from metals and those types of contaminants that come off impervious streets, parking lots, driveways, places where people are doing things with their cars or driving their cars, where that kind of contamination is getting into the waterway. That is the focus of the rules. That's not to say that the state is going to come back and say agriculture is now no longer exempt. We're going to charge it. And if that happens, our responsibility to the board is to say we have to comply with the statutes. And we'll come up with what the number is to do that. That's not the case. I think the implication from the Kenosha News is that there's some conspiracy or some attempt to exempt land for someone's personal gain. We have over 200 parcels in the village of Pleasant Prairie that are agricultural, that are exempt. It's not just one, it's not just two, it's not five. Wherever we find agricultural land that we know is there from aerial photography, or someone brings it to our attention, that becomes an exempt charge. So it's not just one. This is a difficult subject. It's something that a lot of people here to now, before the federal rules came into effect, didn't have to deal with. And I'm not sure that article really did the people any justice, because it's something we have to take care of. If anybody really believes that the water quality that comes off our land is important, just take a look at where it has been managed, and we have places in the village where you can look at that have been managed, and it's been a problem. I frankly depend on them to do a better job than what I saw. They shared with the community the stories of 3 individuals who were particularly aggrieved over the process, and I took a look at their charges. So I think it's important to describe the extent to which, when we were confronted with these individual complaints, as well as any other ones, what we attempted to do. I think the other thing I'd add is that the article that also issued the town of Caledonia, they charge a farm $19 for a farm land. Well, if a farm has very much land that's not cultivated, we'll charge more than that. We'll charge a farmer for actually what he's not cropping. If they got 5 acres, that's not being cropped, they're going to get charged for 5 acres. 3 acres, 2 acres, 6 acres, whatever it is, that's not part of the farming operation, is going to be charged rather than this magical average. And I think that at some point, I know from the staff standpoint, at least the board's opinion previously, is if we're going to tell somebody that we're going to charge you for a service, we're going to at least need to be able to say what it is of your land that's contributing to that need for service, rather than, well, it was easy to figure it out, it was an average. This really isn't a user charge, it's a tax, because we're going to do it based on your ability to pay, or your station in life, or whatever, and that's really not what this is about. This is about the reality of having water come down and having to manage it. But in the case of Mrs. Shimbolesky, she has 20.1 acres, And we've exempted already, let's take a look here. We've identified wetlands of 145,000 square feet, ponds, almost 3,000 square feet, another one 950 square feet, another one 568 square feet. We've identified meadows and woods, which have a lower value for runoff, so that those amounts are corrected in there. So we really have residential that we're charging at 27,952 square feet of residential, and then another one at 43,902. So in that case, we have given, we've identified where there's gone out with the site, and yes, in fact, there is areas there that need to be credited, and we credit them. In the intervening time, she's constructed a pole barn, a separate pole barn, which is going to add to her pervious area, because that's, when the water hits the pole barn, it runs right off and it goes to where it's going to go, and that's going to add to the impervious area that she has to manage. The other individual identified, Mr. Gristle. Mr. Gristle owns, has 7 acres. Nearly half of it's in agriculture, and we put that into that was exempted right out of the beginning, and then a wetland portion of 28,408, about a half acre, that was exempted. So, and if there was something else going on those properties again after a revisit, use a change in crop, it would be in fact exempted. Ms. Shane, we visit her property, and her property is residential. It's almost 2 acres, and she's paying for the 2 acres. There's no agriculture, there's no wetlands, there's no ponds. It's the water coming on that parcel is going someplace else. So the people that were identified, they identified us as charging them, but they didn't identify, and I know we provided the information. The village did, in earnest, take an attempt and work with them to apply the exemptions that they were entitled to by ordinance, and they were not charged 100% for their improvements. So, we've had this discussion numerous times, and I think for the people that disagree with it, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I think that the forum, if people believe that this is an inequitable way of charging it, is to apply to the Public Service Commission for them to make a determination whether or not the village is in fact being arbitrary and inequitable in our placements. And of course, our obligation, and I'm more willing to provide any information that they request to make their petition, as well as provide a response to the commission if they want to hear it. We're not going to shy away from that, but it's the implication that there's something going on is erroneous. It's not helpful, and I don't think it was journalistically responsible on their part to make that accusation. So, with that, Mr. President, that's really one report I think we needed to take in and on the record. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer.
Any questions for Mike? Mike?
Just one statement. Mike, very good report. The only thing I feel bad about is the picture that he painted about President Steinbrink, and that he received something special from this village because of the clean water utility, and nothing is further from the truth. And it's unfortunate that you get up in the morning, you have to read something like that, and when you hear the truth, that's the portion that we'll probably never hear throughout the